Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. We are here today to talk to media studies professional, Rhiannon-Davies, who is here to talk about the forever existing problems of gender stereotype in popular magazines, specifically Bliss. Thank you for your time.
It's not a problem.
So, Rhiannon, before you start using technical media terminology, tell us more about Bliss magazine, just so we are all clear about its audience.
No problem. Bliss was recently bought by an institution called Parnina UK, aimed 14 to 17-year-olds. It successfully provides the audiences with all of the gratifications they expect, which I will talk about in more detail later on. It was originally a sticker and trading card company, and you see examples of that through the small gifts attached to the magazine which encourage young girls to buy it. The audience of teenage girls are able to relate and identify with the magazine, and go to it like one might go to a friend for comfort and advice. The magazine then plays on this vulnerability by brainwashing them with their ideology of teenage girls and how they should act.
I see, so bring us back to the basis of your research.
Firstly, I began studying Stuart Hall's theory of representations, and discovered its incredible importance. Representation is a version of reality. When an existing idea is presented in the media, we see examples of representation in everything we as audiences consume, and it's these ideas that we live by every single day. This is why representations are so important. They make up our society. However, they are constructed and are artificial. These representations are not real, though sometimes we struggle to see it.
Are there examples of representation in Bliss?
Of course, there are examples in almost all types of media. In Bliss, there are representations of teenage girls, making them out to be vain and obsessed appearance. For example, in every magazine we see fashion advice, makeovers and celebrities. The advertisements for typical romances like Twilight also give us an incline as to what they expect their audience to be interested in, and highlight how teenage girls are supposedly obsessed with romance, whilst boys are able to enjoy the more serious and technical genres. It's with these representations that we see a terrific example of the hypodermic syringe theory, as we unfortunately just accept that this is how teenage girls should be.
Is this a problem for teenage girls?
Definitely. Teenage girls themselves think that they are odd if they don't enjoy these things and watch these specific films and wear these particular clothes. However, there are limits to this theory, of course, as not all teenage girls are like this. Some of them are able to make their own decisions. The users and gratifications theory, for example, proves that people make their own choices about the media they want to consume, based on the 5 gratifications. They want to be entertained, informed, escape, somebody to identify to, or maybe just for the social reasons. Bliss magazines cleverly offers audiences a chance to do all of the above.
Going back to what you said about teenage girls, do you think that this links to the idea of gender stereotype?
Definitely. There are different types of representation, for example, that women are the maternal type and have to look after the child whilst the father works. Or that women are weaker and more emotionally unstable and care only about their appearance. We gather this from the proliferation of women standing provocatively and seductively, wearing the latest fashion and caked in makeup. Also, they're almost always the one carrying the child, suggesting they stay at home whilst their husband works. If you look at the cover of a Bliss magazine, immediately you can see the masthead is pink, with a font that is reasonably individual and out there. The individual fonts prove that they want their audiences to believe they can have a certain degree of individuality, but the color pink anchors the idea that in fact they are girls, and this is the color that should attract their attention. This is the magazine they should read.
Does this link to Dyer's star theory?
Yes, Dyer's star theory is also relevant, as the stars present on the front cover are singers that attract an audience of mainly teenage girls, and it is these fan bases that the magazine wants to attract. The star has a direct gaze, creating a sense of involvement, linking to the users and gratifications theory, as it's almost as if we are escaping to their world. The star creates an impossible idea for the reader to aspire to, suggesting the magazine is a recipe for this perfection. The amount of advice and tips the magazine offers are the individual ingredients to which these girls feel they must follow in order to be perfect. The puffs and ears are all fashion-related, and the exclusivity that is so often claims to have proves how gullible and insecure they believe young girls to be.
You talked about women, but how are men represented in Bliss and other forms of media?
Men are often viewed as the stronger, predominant sex, that they are the breadwinners and are naturally beautiful without the need for makeup. Bliss reinforces this. The men are offered as eye candy for the women. We are showed how to look perfect so that these already perfect men will like us.
So you think that Bliss reinforces already existing stereotypes?
Definitely. I think that this stereotype is something beyond any of our control. It exists throughout the media because of dominant patriarchy. The media is controlled by a group of higher class men, like you, who portray women how they want them to be seen. This is why women are effectively sex symbols, because that is how these men believe they should be viewed.
Bliss is not only a magazine, but it exists on other media platforms. Do these other platforms also reinforce the stereotype, or do they challenge it?
Yes, that is an example of convergence, which is how different media platforms come together. Bliss also exists as a website, and is like the magazine in mostly every manner, although it tends to be more up-to-date. The masthead is consistent, in order to create brand identity and sense of community. We know that the target audience of teenage girls often feel like they are alone and not particularly belonging anywhere. Therefore, by creating this identity, they are able to escape somewhere and feel part of a community. Answering your question, the website absolutely conforms with this stereotype as similar images and articles are present. The website converges all sorts of media platforms by providing direct links to other websites, mainly fashion websites, and by having videos from YouTube. By existing through all sorts of mediums, it allows the consumer to be submerged with bliss, and it's these strong influences that make the female stereotype so strong and dominant in a teenage girl's head, that it then begins to mood them.
In your opinion, what impact might the gender identity created through the magazine and the website have on audiences? Do you believe it will be positive or negative?
I think that there are both positive and negatives. Gender identities created make teenage girls believe that they have to act in a certain way in like a particular genre. For example, synergy is where different institutions come together to promote one particular product. On the front cover of one of the Bliss magazines, we can see a picture of Twilight, which makes people believe that they should like Twilight, because they as an audience are being targeted to advertise this product, and so therefore should want to go and see it. That is also another example of stereotype, as the fact that Bliss magazine was chosen to promote this product suggests that all teenage girls would be interested in this cheesy, stereotypical romance. It would also encourage a lot of Twilight fans to buy the magazine, who are predominantly teenage girls, which proves that these types of girls are expected to read Bliss. There are many advertisements such as these throughout the website, as this is where the magazine gains most of its profits. But yes, I think that this can cause many problems and make girls feel insecure about themselves. They may feel that they are too different and will be uncomfortable being themselves. It also could make girls become too reliant on men, as men are so often seen as the breadwinners, and so they think as long as they marry a man, they will be financially stable.
You said there were some positive impacts, too.
I don't believe that the representations or stereotypes are in any way fair or reliable, but I do think that sometimes teenage girls need to feel part of a community and able to relate to something, as we know from the users and gratifications theory. They need to feel as if there is somewhere that they belong, and so therefore being part of a community where everybody likes the same things can make them feel no longer alone and appreciated.
Do you think that Bliss would achieve more buyers if it were to fight the stereotype?
No, I do not. The target audience for Bliss are teenage girls who do conform to the stereotype, girls that do not buy the magazine, and don't tend to buy any magazines. This stereotype already exists, and to fight it would be an endless battle because of the dominant patriarchy. These artificial representations will forever exist.
Thank you so much for your time.
Not a problem.